Death doesn't mean the same thing everywhere. In some parts of the world, it's an ending, a closed door, a final breath, and then silence. But there are places, real places, where death is treated like a continuation, where the dead are still spoken to, still present, still part of the rhythm of everyday life. And that's not theory. That's something Cindy Kaza has seen with her own eyes. From the time she was a child standing in her bedroom face to face with someone who had already died, she's been living in that space between worlds, not imagining it, not questioning it, experiencing it. That path would take her from that moment to formal training at one of the most respected intuitive schools in the world, and eventually across the globe, through places like Indonesia, India, Egypt, Bali, where death isn't hidden. It's just understood differently, where spirit isn't debated, it's expected. So tonight, this isn't just a conversation about the afterlife. It's about what happens when you step outside the Western fear of death and into cultures that have never lost their relationship with it. And once you see that, you don't come back the same. Death and spirituality tonight. That's our topic on the Paranormal 60 with my special guest, Cindy Kaza.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Before we begin with tonight's show, literally moments before it began this evening, I was informed of the passing of a friend. We're going to pause just for a moment to remember the life and legacy of Nick Pope, a friend, colleague, and one of the most influential voices in the modern conversation surrounding UFOs and UAP. From his work with the UK Ministry of Defense to his years as a respected public advocate, Nick brought credibility, intelligence, and always a steady, thoughtful approach to a subject that continues to challenge our understanding of the universe and our place within it. He had a very rare ability to balance skepticism with an open-minded inquiry, helping move the conversation forward while inviting others to explore the unknown without fear. Those who knew him personally will remember not only his insight and wit, but his generosity, kindness, and willingness to engage with a community that he helped shape in profound ways. His passing, confirmed by his wife on his official social media, leaves a significant void in the field and in the lives of those who had the privilege to know him. Our thoughts are with his loved ones, his friends, and the countless people around the world who were impacted by his work. Nick Pope didn't just study the unexplained. He helped all of us approach it with curiosity, clarity, and courage. He will be deeply missed. I had the great pleasure of seeing and working alongside Nick Pope 3 times over the last 3 years. Always a gentleman, always an amazing speaker, always open to people's thoughts and ideas. And no matter how strange they sounded, I watched the twinkle in his eye as he heard these stories unfold. And he always was accepting of the people that shared those stories. Although he might not have bought into them, he knew that they were very real to some of them. And that's the important element of what I watched him do. So he will be greatly missed. Thank you, Nick Pope, for all the work that you've done. Kind of an interesting apropos moment to begin tonight's journey into death and the afterlife and spirituality around the world with the announcement of this. Joining me now on the program, my dear friend. She's a great compatriot. You've seen her on many different paranormal shows, including the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, The Dead Files, and of course our new series, Paranormal Mysteries, which can be seen on Stream Beacon TV. And now we have Paranormal Mysteries Unlocked. You can go in and watch us as we sit down kind of in a format like this with Shane Pittman doing almost like a live video podcast, talking about each episode of Paranormal Mysteries and going a little bit deeper into that. That's running right now on Stream Beacon TV. I think episode 2 or 3 just dropped. So we're excited to be a part of that. And we can announce here, right? Can we? We're going back to film season 2.
Yes,
Very,
we are.
yeah.
Super exciting.
Well, welcome back to the country. I know you've been out traveling a lot, and I thank you for jumping in to be a part of this tonight with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Death is such a strange thing, right? I mean, we spend our lives steeped in it as we're chasing death around the world, trying to understand it, trying to communicate with it, to speak to spirit or the universe or whatever it is that leaves this echo behind. Why is it that our Western culture, which was built from all of these amazing cultures around the world that seem so open to death, have created this kind of provincial, closed-minded, cut-off sense from death and spirituality?
I mean, I can't tell you exactly why that is, but it seems to be that we, especially in the West, somehow think we're going to escape death. Like when we say, well, if I die, it's like, well, you're going to die. Or maybe if I die, like, if you look at the language that we use and we talk about death, and it's just, it's such a natural thing. It's the most natural thing. It's going to happen to all of us. But then we have to ask ourselves, like, what does it mean to die? And is death real? And if I look at it through that lens, it seems like, there's a huge fear culture around death, which creates control. And then we spend most of our lives trying to escape it and trying to avoid it. And right. And so we're afraid of it. And also because we don't know what it is. We don't know what it looks like. I don't care what religion you practice. Like, I think at the end of the day, people are still like, well, what's really going to happen when I go to the other side? Right. And I think it's the fear of the unknown. And as a medium, it's just it's interesting to know. Like, I know that I can communicate with people on the other side, but yet I'm not ready to go there. I still grieve the same way as everybody else does when they lose a loved one, right? And so I don't escape those emotions just because I can communicate with the other side, right? And so I think that we're all just trying to figure it out. It's the biggest question in our existence, like what actually happens. Unless you're an atheist and you're like, well, this is all there is, then it seems like that seems very final.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more terrifying me to anything, right? That it's just, I'd like to have a belief in something, because the concept of just being blown out like a candle in the wind is completely depressing to me.
Yeah, and my dad passed away in January, and he I always say he was a recovering Catholic, because he grew up in a very religious household. He went to Catholic school. He was an altar boy, and I don't know, maybe it scarred him a bit. So for many years, my dad was like, oh, it's just, this is the end. When you die, right? And then about 2 weeks before he passed away, he looked at me and he said, I'm really excited to see my dogs when I die. So it's like, even in his mind, he knew, right? There's this like awareness, and when you see people at their end of life, oftentimes they will say they see people in the room. They'll say they're talking to their loved one who went before them, and I think that that's 100% real. I believe that we're greeted by our loved ones. We don't just cross over by ourselves, that people are waiting for us. And then when I really look at things, or I try to look at things out of the context of linear time, I think everything is happening right now, and death isn't even real. It's just we need language, we need time, we need space to explain something that we really can't fully explain with the language that we are kind of stuck with.
Well, you mentioned the fact that we have this fear of the unknown, but it seems so many other cultures have just embraced the fact that, all right, your physical form is gone. It's not to say there's not mourning that takes place in other cultures, but some literally have the body in their home for a period of a year, and then they'll bury them and then revisit them every few years by digging them up, changing their outfits, sitting down to have a meal. There's the Mexican culture where they will go on the days of the dead and have picnics on the gravestones and celebrate it as though it's still a very big part of life, as though that person isn't any further away than you and I are in these little bubbles on our screen right now. We're still so close, even though the chasm of space between us is much larger. That's pretty interesting to me. And I wish I could embrace that a little bit more. I mean, I feel very deeply. You and I have lost our fathers within 5-6 months of each other. Poor Shane, his father as well, in the last year and a half. And so we deal with mourning kind of in a different way. But when you go to these other cultures, is there that same version of mourning that we do, which seems like passing this tragic loss? Or is it more just like, oh, he's just not in that form anymore, he's right here, or they are still amongst us?
It's a really, really good question, because prior to going to Toraja, Indonesia, which is the place I'm going to talk about, as we continue on this topic, I guess I had made an assumption, which assumptions are never good. I made an assumption that the Toraja people are still practicing the indigenous ways, the funerals. It's the Toraja culture, right? So that they maybe didn't grieve the same way that we grieve in the West. And I had all these ideas, and none of them are correct, because people are still grieving. They're still sad. They're still mourning. But what I found so healing for me personally, as somebody outside of that culture to experience, was the way that the Toraja people cared for the bodies of their loved ones. And the belief is that when somebody passes away, a Toraja person passes away, that they're not actually dead until the funeral takes place, right? So there's this period where they believe that the person is sleeping or resting, where in the West we would say this person is dead, right? And during that period of time, people keep the bodies of their loved ones in their homes. They bring them food, they bring them water, they talk to them. They often will say that they know what to bring their loved one, because they'll have a dream where the loved one comes in the dream and says, I want this, I want that. And so then they bring it, next to the body. And sometimes people keep bodies of their loved ones in their homes for years, right? Until they have the funeral. And then once the funeral happens, then it's believed that the person, the soul, goes to heaven, goes to the other side. But the funerals are very specific. There's certain things have to happen in a certain order. There's water buffalo sacrifice, and I think the belief is that when the water buffalo is sacrificed, and the soul, it helps carry the soul to the other side. And so it's just it's really, really interesting, and I've learned so much just by being there and being able to experience how they carry out a funeral, and also how they care for the bodies of their ancestors. And I think when my brother died, he died in 2022, I was very traumatized by sitting next to him and watching him die, right? It was just the two of us, and I watched him die. It was very hard. And then his body was there, and I was just sitting with his body by myself for a while. And I just, that imprint in my mind about seeing his body like that, and the trauma that it created for me, was really, really difficult to deal with. And so when I went to Toraja and I saw how they were able to sit with their loved ones in the bodies, and it was like this beautiful thing, it helped me shift my perspective. I was like, well, why am I so traumatized? Why did it have to be that way? And why do we sterilize death so much in the West? It's like somebody dies, you whisk them away, you put them in the morgue, you put them whatever you're going to do with them, and it's like sterile. And then you go to these other places where it's like it's a rite of passage. It's an initiation to be able to sit there with somebody when they're transitioning. It's actually an honor. And so I guess at this point in my life, I'm not so afraid of it. Like when my father was dying, it was hard because he was sick for really sick for about a year. And I think had I not spent time in Toraja, I would have had a harder time sitting with him as he was, dying. But I don't know, I was able to sit with him and look at it as an honor to be able to be with him in those moments and not be so afraid.
I had the same traumatic effect watching my mom pass 10 years ago. And you had helped me through a spiritual journey that we took that was really powerful. And in this moment, I had wanted just kind of honesty, truth from the universe, whatever this moment was going to be. And the most impactful thing that came to me during that was I was faced again with that moment of my mother's death and how traumatic it was. And this voice, not my voice, not a God voice, just this voice that just said, no, you're looking at it wrong. And I was like, what? And it said, she was there for your first breath.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the gift she gave to you.
Mm-hmm.
You were there for her last. It was the cycle of life.
It's a cycle. Yeah.
And it released me of this PTSD. I don't know how else to explain it.
It is PTSD. I had the same thing.
It was like 5 years of just this traumatic, impactful, crushing moment of watching somebody die that you can't do anything for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost impossible to put into words. I wish I even told my children, you get out of the room. If I'm in that moment where it's going, you go, because you don't want to watch somebody you love die. And then after having that moment in that spiritual awakening, it kind of shook me into a whole different reality of, wow, she was there for my first breath. I got to be there for her last. We completed a cycle together, which it's, wow, what a powerful way to look at things and take that away.
Yeah. And I wish that we as a culture in the West or in the United States, I can only speak to our culture. I wish that we embraced death a little bit more, or we're more open to talking about it, because again, I feel like it's this thing we're all pretending isn't going to happen, or we like to talk about it in a way where, like I was saying, well, if I die, the language that we use, it's interesting. And there's a quote that I read once, and forgive me, I don't remember who said it, but it was like, you can't really you start living until you stop being so afraid of dying.
That's deep. That's good too. I still have that trouble, man. It's tough. I just turned 58 this last November. Every day I see the news and like the loss of Nick Pope, other people that are in and around my age or within 10 to 15 years, you realize, wait a minute, 10 to 15 years. My dad just passed away at the age of 80, and 80 sounded like a million when I was 20 and 30. And now that I'm 58 and I'm looking at, oh, that's only 22 years from here. Holy, wait a minute, right? That doesn't seem like any time at all.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to move past that concept of death and just letting go of death so that you can live. These other cultures, I watched so many documentaries on watching how they, there's this reverence, this experience of celebrating the life even in the moment of death.
That's what I mean. It's like
so
beautiful.
Powerful.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the documentary on the Jains, on Jainism? There was a woman there's a documentary done. So Jainism is it's a branch of Hinduism, and it's a little bit, well, I guess a little bit more extreme. But there was a documentary that I watched where a woman had decided she was ready to go to the other side. And so she decided to stop eating and drinking. And this was considered to be like a sacred, like moment. And the whole community came around her, and everybody was like, people were coming from out of town to celebrate her life, to help her transition. And I think, and again, I cannot remember, forgive me for if I'm getting this wrong, but I think it took her several days to pass away. I mean, this was like, it was a decision that she made. Had she continued to eat and drink, she would have lived, I think, like quite a few, maybe months longer, And so anyway, just to watch that she made this choice and how the community came around her, and they when she was taking her last breaths or in that space, they were blessing her, they were bringing her flowers. It was beautiful, right? And so I just have to look at those scenes in those moments and wonder, like, why in the West is it so scary and so sterile, and why do we want to just look away,
Right, because even in the Bible and in death, it was a religious ceremony. There was this, you give to the people as they're going, right? I broke immediately when my mom passed in her presence with the body. My son, who's an EMT, actually kind of got me out of it. He brought me back, if you will, into the moment. And then we all started exchanging stories. And it felt weird to me because we're talking over a dead body. But we're exchanging these funny memories and thoughts and the silly stuff she did and the things that we did that made her laugh and all of this. And then my bio dad, who's come into my life, you were there the day I found him, right? He said, when it's my time, for 3 hours afterwards, man, be full of love and laughter and light. I'll be there listening. And he very much believes in the fact that we are still present for 3 hours. And I thought, well, boy, I'm so glad that we did for a couple. It was like 2.5 hours. We just talked over mom, having laughter and everything. And then it was then all of a sudden the walls came down again and I had to leave the room and lost it. But I'm glad that if that's true, that if my mom was there present, still within the physical form, she got, I think, the best gift to see and hear or experience our joy and memories of her instead of just the wailing wall of misery of our loss. I was there a little bit, but to have that, and it was really impactful and powerful. And I've often thought that too, but boy, bring the fun right in those moments. Cause if I'm still there, it's my chance, maybe not so much at the wake or the funeral 3 or 4 days later, but right now, let's live this moment. And that's kind of pretty.
Oh, sorry. I was just like, as you were speaking, it reminded me of I was just in Indonesia filming for my project that's coming out called Unseen. And I was invited to go to a Balinese Hindu cremation, right? And so we get there and it's the full thing. I mean, they bring the body out. You said, like, I was able to film, like, from beginning to end, the unwrapping of the body, putting the flowers on the body, burning of the body. Was outside, but there were like vendors. They're like people selling coffee. Like, no, this is because they're just like, yeah, have a coffee, buy some clothes. I mean, it's like, and I was like, I was drinking a coffee. I was like, I want my funeral to be like this. Like, I want people to be able to go get a coffee because you know how much I love coffee, get some snacks. I mean, it's just like so different. Everyone's talking. We're just like laughing. And I'm like, wow, this is just so radically different than anything you would see.
I promise you, Cindy, when it's your time, I will be there with the beer helmet on with the two selling peanuts and Cracker Jacks from my.
I mean, I wish I should, because this was the last one to jump on. I would have sent you some clips, but hey, maybe if we take a break, I'll send you a clip. But it's super interesting. And then I also visited another place called Trunnion Village, which is, I guess the people of Trunnion, they practice folk Hinduism. So this is like really, really like old form of Hinduism, right? And these are the indigenous people of Bali. And so when somebody dies there, they just take the body. There are 3 different cemeteries, but there's one where you go if you die of like natural causes. And anybody watching this, please forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. I'm still learning a lot. Okay, so they take the body and they just bring it into this like quote unquote cemetery, and it's outside and it's not very big, and they can only have 11 bodies there at a time, and they just lay the body on the ground and they put these like sticks over it. Like they build a little kind of like it's not a teepee, but it's anyway, and they just let the body decompose. Like, so you walk in there's 11 bodies just decomposing, and the belief is that this one type of tree that grows in the cemetery takes away the smell of the decomposing bodies. So when I got in there, they're like, see, you can't smell anything. I was like, you're right. Actually, I don't smell anything. And they're like, yeah, this person just got brought here 10 days ago. So you go up and you're just seeing this body naturally decomposing. But the belief is that God is nature. And when you naturally decompose and you go back into the earth, you're going to God. But it was just like super interesting to just be there. And I look over and there's like a rib cage on the ground. And I was like, it took me a minute because I was like, wait, is that an animal? I'm like, no, that's a rib cage. So you're like seeing it's so radically different, but for them it's very natural. And when I look at things that way, like, oh yeah, we're made of nature, we are nature, you're going back to nature, nature is God, like that makes sense to me. But it's just so different, and also just like helped me so much not be afraid of looking at a body. Like I've lost the fear of seeing a body. It's done.
All right, Cindy Kaza, our guest tonight, as we're talking about death and spirituality, the concepts of death, letting go. What are some ways maybe we can start re-examining the way we deal with death? Would it make our souls lighter, our hearts lighter? We'll talk a little bit more about that when we return. We have to take a very quick break. We'll be back with more right here on the Paranormal 60. Are you ready to step beyond the veil? June 11th through the 13th, something extraordinary is happening. Break on through, a 3-day paranormal experience hosted by me, Dave Schrader, at the historic and haunted Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. I'm bringing together some of the most respected psychic mediums and paranormal minds for a weekend that explores the unexplained. Featuring special guest psychic mediums Chris Fleming, Diet Renee, and Sarah Lemos. This immersive event goes far beyond lectures. Dive into fascinating classes, presentations, take part in hands-on experiments, experience powerful live gallery readings, and join real paranormal investigations. So whether you're searching for answers, curious about the unknown, or hoping to connect with something beyond this world, this weekend is designed to open doors you never knew existed. 3 days, incredible guests, paranormal exploration, and more fun than should legally be allowed. Space is limited, so reserve your spot now. Visit darknessevents.com for details and tickets. That's darknessevents.com. Come explore the unknown and break on through. And if that's not enough for you, May 21st through the 24th, the team from Paranormal Mysteries and Holzer Files and Ghost to Devil's Perch and one of the guys from 28 Days Haunted, well, we're going to be together here at the Palmer House Hotel for ghost hunts, presentations, gallery readings, and so much more. We're excited to be able to get together. I think this is our first event that all three of us will be together at this year, and you get a chance to see us right here at my historic haunted hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Tickets are on sale and available. There are only a handful of tickets that still remain. You can find more information at darknessevents.com. That's darknessevents.com. Cindy Kaza, our guest. Cindy and I are working on many different projects. Cindy just gave you a little taste of what she's working on right now. I'm excited. I'm working on a new project I can't talk about yet. Aside from our paranormal mystery.
Give me a break.
No, I signed a the do not disclose document that's about 4 inches thick, and I'm not allowed to talk about it yet, but it should be out this October-ish is what I was told on I'm not even allowed to say where, but I'm excited to be a part of that. And there's some of my other friends are a part of that program as well. But that has nothing to do with me paranormal investigating or ghost hunting per se, but I am excited to be back out on the road with Cindy and Shane filming with Paranormal Mysteries Season 2, and that we'll be doing that this summer and hopefully have that out for you by Halloween this year. But you've been working on Diaries of a Psychic or Medium, and you've been traveling the world. Now you're bringing these things together in Unseen, which is a new project that'll be part of Stream Beacon as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I sent you a couple clips. I don't know if you can pop them up, but if we have time, I texted it to you. But anyway, yeah. So I've been working on this project for a long time. It's really what got me interested in, I guess, television at all. And so I in 2012, I was like, oh, I want to travel and explore different cultures and religions and how they view the afterlife. And so I just started traveling, and then, I started doing Holzer files, and then I got into paranormal, and then, all this project was put on the back burner, although I never stopped, like filming here and there.
Right.
But then I just, like the last few years, I was like, I really need to take this seriously and get this done, because it's something I've wanted to do for a very long time. Just to really, it's finally, coming together. So I'm excited to share it with everybody. We're hoping to have it out at the, later this year. So.
Listen, I'm still, my dream job, aside from what I'm doing now, and something I've been trying to piece together so that we can start offering them here at the Palmer House, is funerals, where we will be doing funerals for fun. We'll be doing it before you die. So that way you can come in. I will have a effigy of the departed in a coffin that you can take home afterwards. It's a nice stuffed version of you. And then the ghost of honor will have to wear all white and be there to listen to people say funny things, heartwarming things. Because I thought, life is too short. Why do we have to wait till we're dead to hear how much people loved us or how we impacted them?
Let me just share you a personal story. So my brother Mike, okay, not my brother Chad who passed away. I have another brother Mike, reached out to me in 2024. It was like, hey Cindy, I want to have a living funeral for Dad. I mean, it's going to be the three amigos ride again. So it was my dad, my uncle Mike, and my dad's brother-in-law Johnny. Like, they were like the three amigos. That's what people called them. They were all very close. They're all in their 80s. So we had this celebration of life. They were all still alive, called the Three Amigos Ride Again. Okay, so everybody comes. We rent like the VFW hall. We have a microphone. We're all like talking. I'm like, saying all the things to my dad I want to say. Literally within 1 year, they were all dead. And I was like, what the hell did we call in? First Mike went like months after, then Johnny went, then my dad went. I was like, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Or my brother Mike is psychic too, and he's like, we better get this done because they're all going out,
Well, yeah, I mean, but look, you guys all had an amazing time and had a chance to do what a lot of people should, and celebrating these moments of life and death and sharing, because it is a shame, right, that we don't spend enough time in life letting people know how much they mean to us.
Right. Why do we say it to them in the funeral? We're like giving these speeches. They're all heartfelt, and we're saying all the things we've always wanted to say. It's like, why don't we just say it when we're alive? Which is what I got to do with my dad, which, that was really healing for me. And also for my dad, it was nice,
That's sweet. Yeah. I'm glad you guys got a chance to do that, but that's why I want to do this. I think it'd be a fun little experience for people to have
I think it's
to
good.
see that. Yeah, we need more.
You could have a psychic doing readings on the side.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. You could sit there with like a little Swami hat on and be like, I sense Dave Schrader's here right now, and Shane, he's telling you to go to the basement.
That's so messed up.
It is, but beautiful nonetheless. While we're chatting, I'm trying to get the videos so that I can play them in a few moments here on the program. But let's talk about, I mean, with these different cultures and the way that they present and the happiness that seems to be a part of that, we tend to remember the people we miss a lot in that first year. Every month is like a memorial. Every new month that passes, and some new Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, Christmas, whatever. And then it starts getting further and further apart. But it really seems like there should be just days where we just have lunch with our parents, have a family function with them, even though they're gone, or our friends, our relatives, things like that, and embrace it. If you were to give advice to people of how they can get past that kind of stigma feeling of this feels kind of icky, what would you tell them? I mean, in doing that, and do you think that those spirits will be present in that moment to watch us do that?
I mean, I think they're present with us all the time. I don't even think we're separate from spirit, that's the greatest illusion of all time, is that we're separate from spirit, because we are spirit. So, anyway, I could go on a tangent about that, but that just I don't have the language to properly explain what I express what I want to say, because it just just get into this rabbit hole and then contradict myself. So, but what I would say is, you know, like why, like I would tell people to ask themselves why they think it feels icky and why they think that their loved ones wouldn't be present and what's stopping them from just being present in those moments and having a communication, right? Because I think most of us talk to our loved ones in our minds, even if, you know, we don't tell people that we do. I mean, I think that's a very natural thing for people to do. And there's a ritual in Taraja called Manene. It happens, maybe it's once a year. Oh God, forgive me, everyone in Taraja, if you're listening and I'm getting this wrong. But there's a ritual called Manene, and in this ritual, people exhume the bodies of their loved ones. They dust them off. They put new clothes on them. They take pictures of them, and it's like a reunion, right? They're visiting their loved ones again. And I know it's very taboo in our culture to do something like that. And then when I look at the joy that it's bringing people in Taraja, it's like, wow, that's kind of incredible. Like the care that they give to the bones of their ancestors, you know, the reverence that they have for their ancestors in the ritual, and also that those moments where they're really, you know, in, I guess, just in the space of like, this is my ancestor, we're visiting, we're talking, you know, good to see you, remembering, celebrating. I think one of the clips I sent you, hopefully you can play it. There's a woman who was exhumed out of the ground, and she had been in the ground for 17 years, and they took her out, they dusted off her bones, they put new clothes in her, they poured her a drink, you know, because her body was so well preserved and better than the other bodies that had come out of the ground. And so when I asked why, they said because she was an alcoholic, so they thought she was pickled, you know, like
Oh gosh.
So they put a cup in her hand and they poured her a drink, you know. And this is like a woman who's been dead for 17 years, and people are taking selfies with her, and it's part of the culture. It was fascinating.
Yeah, I know. When my grandfather passed away, my great aunt Kit was at the funeral just taking pictures of my grandfather in the coffin, and I was
are they Catholic? I don't know. That happens. The Catholics like to do that. Yeah.
I was like, what are you, that's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got the clip. I'll try to play it. Let me see what we've got here. For those of you that are just listening to the podcast version, you can go over and check the video version of the podcast on YouTube, and it's going to be about a 38-minute mark for this video.
Raya, Om umur berapa? Sekitar ini Om waktu meninggal sekitar umur 40 tahun ke atas, nggak sampai 50 tahun lah.
Okay, you got to show the next one, Dave. There's a second one. That's the one you got to show.
Okay.
Yes. Oh. Hindi ako sambugin mo man eh.
I'm sorry, what was that? Your audio doesn't come through while we're showing the video.
Oh, I thought I sent you a clip where they were dusting off her bones, but I think I must have sent you the wrong one, unless you only played the back end of that clip. But
The video, yeah, I got two videos. One was 32 seconds, the other was 17 seconds. So maybe it just didn't all translate over. But,
maybe not.
It's still,
maybe it cut it short. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still, it's impressive, right? And it's just so matter of fact. It's like, oh yeah, we're just doing this, but you do this in reverence for the people that you love, right? That it doesn't have to be this icky moment, this strange deal. We've really become, like I said, kind of provincial in the way that we deal with these things. And our cultures have all come from these different places around the world. But in all, it's just the fact that we're still showing that you matter, even though you may be gone 1 year, 10 years, 17 years. This relationship still matters. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of eerily beautiful.
Yeah. And, like taking into paranormal taking it in the paranormal direction, because this is the Paranormal 60, right?
Right.
I did a paranormal investigation in a place called Malang, Indonesia, and I was investigating this haunted hotel. So the hotel was never completed. It was like this huge construction. It never was completed. When people were building the hotel, some of the people died. There were all these accidents that were happening. Like financial things were a problem. Like everything was going wrong. So the owners just shut down the development. Okay.
Mhm.
And so I went in and did an investigation, and I saw the spirit of this man who had been decapitated. So he had been killed, his head had been chopped off, and he was like super aggressive. And he was like, I'm the one who, I would scare people when they were building this place and whatever. So I was like, oh, this guy's a little bit of a problem. Like, he's so angry, right? And then come to find out, on that land in that area, there were, it is known that there were several bodies that had been buried where, and people had been killed in the 1960s. There was an anti-communist wave that kind of went through, and I'll leave it at that. But long story short, the owner of the hotel at the end of the investigation was supposed to do not a reveal. What am I trying to say? I was supposed to reveal to her what I got, and then she was supposed to explain to me, what the property was all about and everything. And she kept canceling. She would not do the exit interview. 4 times she canceled. She just didn't want to talk about it. And I was like, okay, well, this is a cliffhanger. Now I can't really finish this episode, because I don't have even the owners refusing to talk to me after agreeing to, right? And so when I went back to Indonesia this year, I was still left with the question of okay, well, what is going on with this spirit, and what's going on what's the belief around spirits who are decapitated or killed and their head is separated from their body? What happens? And come to find out, there's a whole, story about another village in Indonesia where the spirit of a headless man was walking around haunting the entire village. Like, most people saw the spirit. This is a whole village, most people experiencing this, which is very rare to have.
Mhm.
Like, all these people saying they all saw this thing, and that for several years. There were I don't know, 40 or 50 suicides, all by hanging. And I think in each situation, the person who committed suicide had reported to have seen this headless spirit, whatever. I'm like, what is going on? And so what I learned was that that if somebody's decapitated and their head is separated from their body, and the bones are not recovered, if the bones are in the ground, there's no, you're not bringing the bones together and then giving them a proper funeral, that there would be no peace. And so what happened in this village is that the spirit of the guy, the headless man, went to one of the villagers and told the villager where to find the bones. And they found the bones. And this spirit was also killed in the 1960s during the anti-communist wave. And so I was like, well, that's a striking similarity to what was going on in my first investigation, right? And then it's to learn about well, this haunting maybe is never going to stop in the haunted hotel, because the bones of that man have never been found and nobody wants to talk about it, right?
Right.
Isn't that interesting? And then so once they dug the bones out and they found the bones and they cremated, the bones, all the haunting stopped. Everybody, there were no more suicides not like that.
Do you think it's the acknowledgement? We learned that a lot on Holzer Files and Ghost to Devil's Perch, right? So many people have passed and have been forgotten or stepped over as history just continues to mount. And they just want to be remembered for the role that they played in certain elements, or not to be forgotten is the kind of overall, right?
Well, yeah, but also to think about when the head is separate from the body, and what does that do to a haunting? And also, I often wonder if our experience in the afterlife will reflect our cultural beliefs. So does that happen? Because you'll hear about different types of hauntings in different cultures, right? And so we have to ask ourselves, like, what is the experience of the spirit? Is the spirit still having an experience through the cultural lens that, you know, that they grew up with? And are the villagers or in this situation interpreting it that way because that's what they believe? You know, there are all these unanswered questions, like what actually happens. Again, what happens when we die? And when you read about near-death experiences, you'll find that many people will say they can be in many different places simultaneously, right? And so then what is that showing us?
Deb from Sauk says, in the Dark Ages, there were so many beheadings. No wonder those castles are all still so haunted.
I mean, right? It's just, it's wild. It's wild. And in the Balinese, the Hindu cremation ceremony that I was like really fortunate to attend, it was like really a rare moment to be able to see it from beginning to end. And mind you, it's like a little bit awkward where I'm just invited to somebody's funeral that I don't know, and I'm filming it, and I'm like, this feels this feels so like kind of wrong. Like, I don't know these people. I'm like in their funeral. I'm filming the family. I'm like, this, I don't know. And I'm so grateful at the same time, but it's a little bit awkward. But you know, once they you know, cremated or burned the body, they would look and make sure that they got all of the bones. And then if there are any bones that weren't like a fine powder, the family would all they would pass it around, and they would all make sure all the bones were ground down to a fine dust, because until that happens, the soul can't be free. So it was that was beautiful to watch the bones be passed around to the family members, and they all took turns completing the process of sending their loved one to the other side, you know.
There's a finality to that. Might be part of what helps in the healing process too, right? How do they respond or perceive ghost spirits? You know, if they're digging up great grandma to have that moment together again, do they believe that spirit is still with that physical form?
No, this is a really good question, Dave, because what I learned along my journey was that, you know, like in Taraja nowadays, a lot of the Taraja people are now Christian because they converted to Christianity when the Dutch were colonizing Indonesia. And so a lot of them believe that the soul just goes to the other side, but but because it is their culture and their tradition to have funerals like this, they still carry out the funeral the way that their ancestors taught them to do it. It's out of respect for their ancestors, right? So not everybody believes that the person is simply sleeping until the funeral happens. Some still do. Some that are still practicing, you know, the indigenous ways and do. But even the people in Taraja who are now Christian, they are still holding the Taraja funeral, right? So to preserve the culture. And I think that that's a really important thing to note. And even in Trunnion, where they take the body and they lay it on the ground, and I was talking about that, and they let the body naturally decompose. So in Trunnion, some of the people are still practicing the indigenous ways. They're holding those beliefs, but others are now more into more Balinese Hinduism, in which they don't necessarily believe the same thing, you know, but they still will honor their ancestors in that way. So I think to me, I think that was a really interesting thing to learn, because when I initially went to Taraja, I just again made this assumption that because people are practicing these rituals, or they must still hold these beliefs exactly the same way as their ancestors, and I learned that is not correct. And I had to really, like, because I couldn't make sense of it. I was like, what do you mean you're doing this but you don't believe that? And because I couldn't understand. It took me a minute, and now I had to go back twice. I went there twice. I filmed twice because I wanted to make sure that I was telling the story correctly and that I really understood what I was experiencing. And I think a lot of people go to places like Taraja or Trenton and especially Westerners, and they sensationalize the experience. Like, look at this dead body. And it's like, I don't want to be that person. I really want to understand what's happening, right? Because to us, it's taboo to see a dead body, but to them, it's not. So like, you know, I'm entering their space and I want to be respectful.
Let's take a very quick break. We'll come back. We've got more to discuss with Cindy Kaza, our special guests, right here on the Paranormal 60.
Did you know that radio just got a little extraterrestrial? That's right, Dave Schrader is back on radio with the Paranormal 360 every Sunday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Central on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station. Just download the Odyssey app and look for the WCCO logo, follow the station, and listen live. That's the Paranormal 360 on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station.
And for those of you that are fans of my radio show, Paranormal 360, I'm working hard behind the scenes. We may be adding a second night of Paranormal 360. So there may be even more paranormal delights to check out. So keep listening and check it out. If you haven't already subscribed now, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, go look up Paranormal 360, Paranormal 360 for a well-rounded view of all things strange and supernatural. Ghosts to us are one thing you and I have now discussed, and I think over the course of 7-8 years that we've known each other now, which went by like that, right?
It's
I get
crazy.
Memories every day. 7 years ago today, you were in Rhode Island.
How has
filming
it
with
been
Cindy.
7 years?
I know.
What happened?
We have realized that there are so many different factions of what a ghost could be represented by, what it might actually mean. And the physical form, the spiritual form are two different things. But I wonder if there is just every bit of it exists in some way. We hear about people that have had organ transplants from someone who passed away, and suddenly they start having memories that aren't their own, cravings for food. And then I think about, there's this really kind of fascinating new way to be taken care of at the end of your life. They put you in this pod with a tree.
Oh, totally.
And it grows into an apple tree. And I think,
oh, well, that's kind of weird.
Right. So your DNA is part of the apples.
Garden of Eden.
Right.
Like, eat the. Oh my God, that's a whole thing.
So somebody's underneath the Dave tree taking a bite, and suddenly they just have the urge to make little guys go into the basement or attic all the time, and they don't understand why.
Oh my God, that's crazy. No, but you know, to me, it makes sense if I look at things through the lens of psychometry, because everything holds an energetic imprint. Everything has a memory. So if you're taking somebody's organ and you're transplanting it into somebody else, that organ has an imprint, right? It has an imprint. And then again, it's like, I still like, I wish I had the language to express what I really mean when I say we're not separate from any of it. Like, we're not. It's just, and I have to tell you, Dave, I don't know if you felt the same way, but like, so my mom died in 2013 and my dad died this year. And somehow after they both died, I almost felt like, I thought I was going to be like, oh, I'm an orphan. And it was actually this different feeling of like, it's like something completed. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't know. It was just like the mom and the dad and everything goes back into your heart, like your heart. And it's, I don't know. It was a spiritual experience, you know?
There is that element to me of completion. There is that element to me of still loss. What is so strange to me is I'm a 58-year-old bald grandfather, right? Gray-haired old guy now. And I still feel like a kid. I'm like, my mommy and daddy are gone. And it's just this weird, like balancing on two layers of being a child still and being a full-grown adult. It's weird.
That's the thing, because I was thinking that often, like when my dad was dying, when I would go to this place where I was like, I miss the no daddy, don't go. And I was like, oh, that is like my child, the young version of me, like wanting my daddy, you know? And then I was like, but then there's this other, like, version of me that's like the initiation into maybe becoming an elder, that's like, no, this is part of your duty as a human being, is to help your loved ones transition, and like trying to balance out those two spaces, right? And it's like they're both very real parts of who we are, and they're both okay to express. But I think becoming aware of the difference, right, and just to like honor both spaces is an important part of the journey too.
But I don't know if you found this too, that there are weird elements to this whole situation. As I'm sitting here, and I've mentioned this story, so bear with me, folks that have heard this. But there's even more little weird elements to it. I was sitting here in this hotel looking at all the little things and cosmetic dings and nicks that need to be fixed, that I am not that guy. I am not handy. And I'm thinking how much it kind of pains my heart that my dad's not here to do this work, because I know he would be huffing and snorting, but loving every minute of it, right? And he'd be up at 5 a.m. and going to bed at 8 o'clock at night and covered in dust and paint, because he would love this. And I remember thinking, man, I wish he was here just to see him do his thing and fix everything. And a few days later, I'm interviewing a girl that we're going to hire to work in our kitchen, and her parents are here with her. And the dad gets up and starts looking at the foyer of my hotel, and he goes, "Yeah, I can fix this. I'll get it fixed for you." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then he quotes me this price, and I'm like, "Sure." And I'm Dave. And he goes, "My name's Jim." And my dad's name was Jim.
That's wild, right?
And what's even funnier is a few months later, so I'm still kind of just ruminating on that. And I'm talking to him, and I go, how do you say your last name? Is it Tobacco? He goes, "It's Tobacco. It's Polish." And my dad was Polish, my dad that raised me. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you're a Polak named Jim who does handyman work just like my dad? And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm just like, wow, that just the way the waves of the universe come together. What are the odds 2 days after I'm wishing my dad were here to fix this stuff?
Yeah, because your dad's like, "I am here. Hello."
Yeah.
Hello.
And every day, every week, he's in here working on stuff, just like my dad would be. And he's
awesome.
like, "Hey, while I'm up here, I noticed another problem. Don't worry, I'm not going to charge you for this. I'm just going to get it done because I can see it," and he'll fix something just like my dad would do. So it's and he's younger than I am by about 10 years, but it's just this very surreal thing that, that there are these moments where you can still feel connected through living moments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's also how spirit communicates with us. So it's like I think a lot of times we're hoping to see our loved ones in a dream, or we're expecting some sign or symbol, and sometimes the sign is another person that comes across our path, like Jim the handyman that's now working in your place, right? Like that's also it's like a visitation, right? I mean, I've had experiences where like I would be thinking about my mom, and somebody comes up to me and says something like exactly how my mom would have said it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the visitation, that's the experience. So
Right. And I was going to ask you about that. People that are like, I was thinking of my mom, and all of a sudden her favorite song came on the radio. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how did her spirit
Visitation.
nudge the DJ to play that song in that moment? Or was it more about that song was coming up, mom knew it, so she nudged our brain to make us think of her, and then that song came?
That's what I think, because they can be everywhere all at the same time, everything everywhere all at once, right? And again, that's like showing us how consciousness can travel. We're not separate from anything. I mean, I had an experience where I did a reading. I was doing a big event in California, and I was on stage, right? And I was bringing through who I thought to be a spirit, this guy, and I was talking about his life, and I was like, I think I'm over here in this area. And I said, I'm hearing the name Garrett. And so this woman raises her hand, and she goes, Cindy, she goes, Garrett is my friend that I had lunch with today before your event. He's still alive. Garrett's alive. And she goes, the man you're describing is Garrett's best friend, who's being taken off of life support tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Wow.
So it's like Garrett's best friend wasn't even on the other side yet, but he was half in, half out, but his soul or the consciousness or whatever, like knew exactly what it was doing. And because Garrett had gone to visit his friend, and there are a lot of things left unsaid. And like literally this guy who was being taken off of life support the next day, was expressing all of the feelings that he had, why he did the things that he did. And I mean, what is that showing us? It's showing us that like we don't know very much. You know, like I swear to God, I like the more I learn, the less I know. I don't know anything at this point. I'm just showing up for it, you know.
We're so limited. I had a great moment, and I don't mean to keep touting the fact that I own this hotel, but I love it. I'm every day is a new lesson. And I had two women that came in for our history and paranormal tour this last Saturday. And they were sitting across over at the table I'm looking at right now. And they were so excited. And they go, we got to tell you something. So, and I apologize. I don't remember if it was like a brother or father, but she was like, I was thinking of my brother. And all of a sudden, one of the spirit devices said his name, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? And then the other girl is talking, Holly, and she's thinking about her father. And the name Steve comes through, which is her father's name. And they're having this moment. So they came in with no expectations of meeting the ghosts of the Palmer, but in hopes that there would be some connection to the people that they love. And I thought, wow, how powerful. And then she goes, Dad, if that's you, give me more of a sign. Say move. Just say move. Just let me hear you say move. And Sherry, our tour guide, shutting down. And she's like, thank you guys for being here. She turns off her devices. She turns off her Ovilus, puts it in her backpack. And suddenly the Ovilus turns on and goes, move.
Yeah, totally.
Da-da-da, da-da-da. And it starts riddling off words. And Sherry goes, I turned that off. And she looks in the bag. She goes, it's off. But it spoke and it said move. And she was very blown away by that. And I thought, how limited are we in these moments that we go in expecting to have this?
Yeah, but
when there's so much more.
Yeah, and as human beings, we have so much potential. We're told to be small. We're taught to be small. We're taught that we're very limited, and actually we're not limited. I mean, and I guess I'll end on this. It's like if you think about what I was talking about, the guy that was, you know, on life support, we're talking about spirits, we're talking about like what you just shared, like people that have been meditating in caves or meditated in caves for many, many years and understood that we can astral travel, that we can bilocate, and that we can go to all of these places while we're still alive. Like that's showing us that maybe death is just a breath. And it's like Alan Watts was doing this talk. I was listening to a podcast and he was saying, once you really start to understand that you can walk between all of these spaces at the same time, then you won't even understand that you died because it'll just be another breath.
Oh, that's beautiful too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. And I hope that's the way it goes. I hope that we are here 1 second and not into another version of existence. I've been touting that for a while. I really believe that I've died 3 or 4 times already, and my consciousness just slips over into another iteration or a multiverse version of me. And I'll get to live out that long, healthy life, and it'll just be in steps, not in one linear fashion, but that my eternal soul will get to have that full rounded deal. But every time one door shuts, I wake up on the other side of another door that's still me, and it's just a little further down the line.
Absolutely.
You can check us out. Paranormal Mysteries on Stream Beacon TV is out. The first 6 episodes. You can also check out the special that we put out, which is called An Evening with the Spirits, and it's Cindy, Shane, and I. And now Paranormal Mysteries Unlocked, where it's a 6-part series. Each week we go back and take a look at the first 6 episodes and go a little bit more in depth, with a little bit of time between those episodes, getting a chance to talk about them and what those moments meant to us. So that's out and available. We begin filming season 2 very soon. We'll be bringing that out to you by the end of this year. Cindy's got a brand new program called Unseen, and you're putting that together. This is something that's been years in the making. Are you going to include footage from your whole experience from 10 years ago on? Or is it going to be just new stuff?
It's not going to, well, I have all this old footage, which I will do something with one day, but for the purpose of season 1 of Unseen, I don't know, may or may not be in there. Probably not. I don't know. Who knows?
It's unseen. Who knows? We will find out in due course. But either way, Cindy, thanks for coming on. I love you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
I
for
love
being
you too,
a part of
buddy.
this.
Yeah,
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Beautiful stuff, amazing thoughts and processes. And there are cultures that sit beside their dead with more than most of us sit beside the living, right? And that thought alone can rearrange you, because it means what frightens us is most likely not death itself. It may be how completely we've cut ourselves off from it and from the people that we love, even in life. From the rituals, from the reverence, from the possibility that love and memory and spirit, whatever name you give it, doesn't just end clearly just because the body does. Cindy's journey doesn't just open a window into other beliefs. It exposes how narrow our own beliefs can be. And once you've heard that, once you've felt the weight of how other people walk with their dead, it gets a lot harder to pretend the silence means nothing is there. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey and following in the Paranormal 60. And I will be back again Wednesday with my friends as we deliver the news as only you deserve to know it, the Paranormal 60 News. Thank you all, and have a safe and pleasant night. And remember to love those people around you and spend time with them now so that you're not wishing you had those moments back some other time. Good night, my darklings, and remember, I love you.